Hi, this is Jeff from Michigan Michael Chekhov Classes, and welcome to Vlog 7 for my Comedy of Errors project. Today, I'm going to begin to work with Gian physically in order to try to find a psychological gesture for him. It's going to take me a little while. I'm going to work on this pretty slowly, just so you can get an idea of how one can build into a psychological gesture. But you can do this all in an hour, or you can take months and months and months to really find the right psychological gesture. And by the way, you may think you have the right psychological gesture right until final dress and even beyond, and then find out, hey, it's not working for me. And you can change it. It's okay. You can change it then. But what is a psychological gesture? This goes to one of Michael Chekhov's main guideposts for his technique, which is psychophysical exercises. In that, a physical action can cause a psychological response, and a psychological response can cause a physical action. It is one continuous circle that is always feeding into itself. The psychological gesture for the character is the inner core, the unmovable inner core of that character. It beats a lot of the work that a lot of actors do, writing pages and pages of I used to do this, pages and pages of background story about their character, what their favorite foods are, everything else. Imagine figuring out a movement that can slip you into your character like that. That's what psychological gesture is. And again, because of this project, his psychological gesture is going to be very, very important for me. But we can start to find that through archetype. So today I've cleared out my living room so I can work physically, and I'm going to be working physically with each one of these archetypes that I worked with yesterday in order to find some physical movement for the psychological gesture. So here we go.
So it's important to start small. I'm just allowing small movements to build into some kind of inspiration. I'm trying to expand here. I continue to start over from neutral. So I start from my basic movement and I try to play around with this movement until I find something that I find satisfying. It's important to shake yourself of the desire to be right. There is no right. This is just the spirit of play. Once I've exhausted to a certain degree each movement, I try to start a new one. Here I think I found something. I find that stepping into my backspace tends to feel more right for this archetype than stepping forward. Sometimes I like to start with a pose, just a pose that sums up the archetype for me. And again, it's important here at this beginning part of the process not to find something right away and stick with it. Explore, play around with different things. Again, don't worry about being right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. There's only what is true and what is less true. And you are the judge of that. You are the best judge of what is the most authentic for your character. It's hard to do these for me without getting some sort of psychological response. So again, doing the movement creates a psychological response generally. And for me, that it really resonates. Again, archetypes can come from any place. This is a Chinese zodiac archetype. I don't know whether this is right for Aegean, but it's good to explore things even if you don't think it's 100% right. I don't know that beggar is right for Aegean. But by exploring each and every one, I open myself up to make all kinds of interesting discoveries. As you are working with psychological gesture, please remember to use your full body, your full breath, extremes. Go to extremes from one point to another. Try to make it as big as you possibly can. Use effort. And remember the artistic frame, which is prepare, do the action, sustain the action, and stop. Sometimes I'm sustaining here, sometimes I'm not sustaining. Ideally, you would want to sustain throughout. I'm moving rather quickly through these archetypes. Grizzled Sea Captain, I feel like I found relatively right away. Caretaker is another one where I feel like there could be something there. And you can see I'm doing the beginnings of an embrace. I want to embrace or gather.
Fallen caretaker.
And this was something that I was inspired to do in the moment. It's not something that I necessarily thought of beforehand, but it just came to me through the work.
Fallen seeker.
And now I'm exploring again a new idea that has come to me as I am exploring these movements. So each of these movements leads to a new, even more inspired movement. For some reason, I feel like this might be the one. It seems the most energized, the most urgent, the most needful, which is something I think Aegean needs. His life is on the line, man. There's a pleading aspect to this movement.
A humbler task could not have been imposed than I to speak my griefs unspeakable. Yet that the world may witness that my end was wrought by nature, not by vile intent. I'll utter what my sorrows give me leave. In Syracuse was I born, and wed unto a woman, happy but for me.
So I'm trying to use the movement to relight that candle, to find more inspiration in how I'm doing it. It's okay to do this and then move right into text. And through Seeker, I'm starting to find the need to reach into my backspace too. He's seeking forward and back.
A humbler task could not have been imposed than I to speak my griefs unspeakable.
It's heavier. Heavier.
Yet that the world may witness that my end was wrought by nature, not by vile intent, I'll utter what my sorrows give me leave.
And this isn't a performance. This is just rehearsing.
In Syracuse was I born and wed unto a woman, happy but for me, and by me had not our hap been bad. With her I lived in joy. Our wealth increased by prosperous voyages I often made to Apodamnum. Till my factor's death, and the great care of goods at random left drew me from the kind embracements of my spouse, from whom my absence was not 6 months old before herself almost at fainting under the pleasing punishment that women bear. A lot of great discoveries today. A lot of interesting things happening internally. I think the right psychological gesture is beginning to form from this movement, reaching back into my backspace and forward, perhaps even this movement. Because this is more of a reaching, this is more of a taking for me. Grabbing at the past, reaching to the future, unable to get it. Shakespeare, man, you write some deep characters. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe, go on YouTube, tell your friends. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll see you tomorrow.